support level. This could be a potential entry. We can kind of get the range from like maybe 220. How do I use support and resistance to pick winning, profitable trades? If you are losing, then try this. Hey guys, Joey here, top tier MyZero trader in Philip Securities, and in this video, we'll be talking about this concept called support and resistance. One of the most important skill sets to really master to help you to time your entry and exit. It's pretty much what I do, all right, to focus on when to get in and even when to get out and where most of our trades are. So if you don't know how to use support and resistance, make sure you watch this video all the way to the end. So let me just dive into my whiteboard right now to explain to you what exactly is support and resistance before we dive into some real life case studies to gauge whether an entry or an exit could be made, or if there is a potential for a high probability winning trade to be taken, right? So let's dive into my whiteboard right now. So you can see that I have on my whiteboard these two lines right over here. So the red line is what we call resistance level. So this is what we call a horizontal resistance level, whereby many times the price would head up to here and then it might come back down, or it might just near it, comes back down. Sometimes it might go up to it, sometimes it might just near it. But every time we head up to that red line, all right, it's a price level whereby a lot of selling pressure is coming back and it just pushes back down. This is what we call a horizontal resistance price level. So whenever you see a resistance level, that is where potentially you can also think about taking some profit near that, because very high chance that we can see a potential retracement, just like what we have seen, down, 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 down. All right, so that's a very key level. So let's take a look at the green line right now, and that is what we call the support level. All right, it's a price level, as you can see, whereby each time we near it or we touch it, buyers comes back and we start rebounding or pushing away or respecting that price level and pushing back up, right? Something like what you see over here, right? So it starts to rebound back up, rebound, all right, rebound as we near that support level. So that is where whenever we near a support level, there's a high probability of it also rebounding from that support level, especially if the stock is in an uptrend, right? So trend will be for another topic in today's video. We'll just be focusing on support and resistance level, and essentially we're looking at the horizontal support and resistance level as well, right? So once we have these two lines drawn on any single stock, right, whereby it starts to consolidate, we have a level whereby price pushes back down, or a support whereby it starts to rebound back up, that is where we can think about taking trades near this support and resistance zone. So for example, if many times we have rebounded from this support level, this could be a potential entry right over here if we were to head to that buy zone again, right, or this support zone right over here, especially if the stock is in an uptrend. And same thing, right, whenever we head to this resistance level or this sell zone right over here, that is potentially where you could think about taking some profit, all right, or maybe just getting out, reducing a bit of exposure, especially if the stock is in a downtrend. So we try not to buy in a downtrend, right? But in an uptrend, we can also see selling near a resistance, like what you see over here, right? And that's normal, right? That's a good thing as well, because whenever you see some profit taking, it could guide you to also get out as well. Maybe wait for a pullback, and then you can think about getting in again, right? But essentially, just based on these two horizontal lines, the support and resistance, you can kind of get a gauge of where to potentially think about getting in, all right, and also where to think about potentially maybe getting out, or where some selling can actually comes back, right? And just to give you a little bit of an idea, right, what do we want to look out for in this zone? So be what we call candlestick. So that would be another new whole topic, but just to give you an idea. So for example, if you see some bullish reversal or candlestick right over here, so this is what we call like bullish candlestick. Right, so there are like hundreds of patterns, so we only focus on a few candlestick patterns that, if it does happen over there, that just gives us more weight on that, support really holding in it, and a very high probability of a rebound actually being seen, right? So that's what we call bullish candlestick. And same thing if you were to spot like, bearish, right, bearish candlestick near this sell zones as well, that is potentially where you really want to think about getting out, all right, because very high chance that we might see a retracement again, right? So just by looking at this, horizontal support and resistance, it gives you a quick indication, right? Very, very clear indication indeed, right? Of where you could really think about getting out or maybe even getting in, right? Of course, you want to combine it with a few other factors for more confirmation, like the trend, the candlestick, and some other things that we look at as well, all right? But I think this is very crucial, and that's what you want to know as well. And one thing to note about support and resistance, that if a stock has been moving up and down and in this range, right, this above the support or below the resistance for a while, right, and we are pretty much in a sideways movement, and if ever there is a case whereby we start to see the stock kind of like breaking either of this support and resistance. So for example, let's say we have this red line. Let me just go to expand it all the way here, and maybe this support line that is like all the way over here, right? So we might just continue to move up and down, up and down. So there are two cases that can happen. The first case is it were to break above this resistance level right over here. Well, that could be a good thing. That means you have got out of this sideways structure or this sideways consolidation, and we can potentially hit even higher. All right, and if we were to kind of like move sideways and pump, we break down, if we were to break down below this horizontal support level, then yeah, not so good. That is could mean whereby we may potentially see more downside. It could be a reversal back down as well, right? So that's how you can use support and resistance, not only to guide you on entry and exit, but also to give you an indication of if a stock has got out of its current structure, of its current consolidation. Is it starting to move up? Is it starting to move down? Or maybe it's just continuing its sideways consolidation in between the same red horizontal resistance line at the top or the same green support line at the bottom. So let's take a look at some live case study to see how we can actually draw this horizontal support and resistance level, and after drawing them, how it can actually give us an idea of when or where to think about getting in, all right, near the support, or maybe to get out if you to hit some of those resistance whereby selling have came back previously. All right, so this is Apple, AAPL, one of the most popular US stocks. So it's about 228 level right now. So let me just go to draw some very key resistance level right over here. So you can see that a resistance level, as I mentioned, right, is where at least we have seen selling one time or two, three, four times. The more, the better it is. It means that that's where it's a very meaningful price level by some selling can actually come back, right? So if you see one time, maybe not as strong, maybe like 2 or 3 or 4 times, then yes, that level is indeed pretty strong. We can expect selling coming back. So you can see right over here, that is where we saw selling previously in July. All right, we neared it somewhere over here, came back down, neared it, came back down over here. We saw a bearish candle as well. We neared it and we sold back down. So around the 240, that would be a price level. That's what we call a horizontal resistance level. And I mentioned that whereby if we were to see some bearish candlestick coming out near that resistance level. So this is where we saw some bearish candlestick. You can see right over here, we got like a doji, kind of like a bearish spinning top, started to sell down. So if you see, all right, some bearish candlestick happening near that resistance level, well, that will give more weight to that particular resistance level as well. So same thing over here, right? So quite a bearish candle, even though it's green in color, but we got a long upper shadow that shows selling or pressure coming back, or you push up and then sellers come back and push it all the way back down, and it closes somewhere at the low or at the end of the day. All right, so that is where it just means that selling is coming back near that resistance level as well. So that's a resistance level, and we can see we can draw another support level. Well, I would say that maybe we might have seen some support right over here, maybe around the 220 level. Why? Well, over the past 1 to 2 months, you can see that was where we have rebounded from as well. Over the past like 2-3 weeks, same thing. Saw a couple of bullish candles, rebounded a little bit, right? So for about more than 2 months, we have rebounded and stayed above the 220 level, right? So not too bad, right? That could be a temporary support level as well, and maybe another level right over here around the 200 and let's see, right, about 215. Well, you can see somewhere over here as well for Apple. We have rebounded right over here, rebounded a little bit. You can see that was where we broke above in terms of the resistance. We broke above it. Same thing right over here, rebounded as well. So about 215 to 220, I think that's potentially where some good bargain hunting can come back again. These are support zones whereby high chance of buying pressure actually coming back. But it doesn't mean that whereby if you hit to there, you will surely rebound. No, right? It just means that as we hit that, there's a high probability of it rebounding, because from the past prices, we have actually see a couple of bullish candles, and buyers have actually came out near there or at that level. So that's what it means, right? It doesn't mean 100% will rebound from there. All right. So just take note, that's how the support is actually drawn and how it works. So, and if it will to actually break down, right? For example, I'm not saying that it will happen, right? But let's assume by one day, if it might to break down like a 220 or 215 level, right? And then that is where potentially the support might be broken. We can start to see a reversal like what I've mentioned just now, right? If you were to break what we call like this horizontal support level were not so good, that's where potentially we might see some short-term downside. And same thing, if you were to break this horizontal resistance level, that's where we could see more upside, or it's a new phase higher. All right, so let's go back to Apple. You can see this is pretty much the range right now, and based on this horizontal support and resistance, we can kind of get the range from like maybe 220 to about 240. So it's like moving up and down in this range, I would say, right? Just like going up, down, now maybe going up a little bit, maybe coming back down again, up and down. And only if it were to break the 240, great, that is where we are set free from this sideways consolidation or this structure. And we can potentially hit even higher. Targets can be raised maybe all the way to 260 just by extrapolating right over here from this range all the way to another $20 range. Targets could be to 260. So that's how you can draw horizontal support and resistance to guide you. And take note that for Apple, right, we also have a very key level. Let me just draw it for you right over here. So that would be that 200. You can see right over here 200. In fact, since 2023, right, for most of 2023, we were actually below this 200 resistance level. Look at this, right? We neared it, we sold back down, down, all right? But finally, so 200 will be a very key resistance whereby selling can actually come back, right? So if you're to near 200 by right, you could think about getting out or locking some profits. But somewhere over here in June, all right, we saw prices breaking above the 200 resistance level. So that would be a good thing, right? That would be a good thing, something like what I mentioned over here, right? So it's like moving sideways below 200. And we saw this thing happen. That would be like 200. We break above the resistance. Pretty much is another phase higher, all right? And, we have gone even higher. So this 200, you can see, went up, came back down. Same thing, we retested the same $200, which would be a new support level. So the resistance has turned to a support level, right? So yeah, just by drawing these key levels, you can see where are we right now. Are we at a higher level? Are we back to the same 200 support level? So let me just turn this to green in color. So this would be like the next support level. So you can see 200, 215, 220. These are all potentially where some buying pressure can come back just by looking at past prices, just by looking at where buyers have came out previously. That could help you time your entry, right, to get in as it were to hit to these support levels again. All right, let's take a look at another case study to explain support and resistance levels. So this is Alphabet, stock code GOOGL, one of the popular top tech stocks in the US market, about 175. So let me go to draw what we call horizontal support and resistance level, and after drawing them, let's see what we can do with them in terms of entry and exit. So right over here, that would be a resistance level. Let me just turn it to red in color. So resistance would be red in color. That's where selling have came back previously. So try to go ahead to draw some of those very key levels whereby it's like a no-brainer. All right, it's like a very easy to draw. You can see right over here we came down, so that definitely would be a resistance. If you're to near that level again, over here potentially that is where some selling can come back again, right over here. So that is where some selling can happen again. So just by drawing that, you have an idea, right? Where if you were to hit there again, you can take some profit, take some money out of the table. That's what could happen, right? Let's go to draw another support level or resistance. I think that would be right over here. So you can see 170, definitely that would be a resistance level. So somewhere over here in August to September, you can see we touched, we came down. So it was a bit of a resistance, but over the past 2 weeks, we have gone above this resistance. So now this resistance would be like a new support level. So let me just explain what I mean, right? So over here, you can see, right, as we consolidate, all right, and if we were to break above this resistance, well, this resistance will now turn into what we call a support level. So it's like a new support level, and if you to stay above this new support, that is a good thing. It shows that we are at a higher phase. We could see a reversal back up gradually, right? So let's go back to Google. You can see we were trading below this resistance, it turned to a support, and now we're still above this support level. So definitely want to have a line right over here, and maybe we have another line right over here. I think a little bit of a support right over here, maybe around the 160. You can see for about 1 month plus we're trading just above it, right? You can see buyers coming out, rebounded a little bit rebounded. In fact, we saw a couple of bullish candlesticks. So we talk about candlestick. I'll not dive too much into it, but essentially, as I mentioned, right, if you to spot certain bullish candlestick near support level, so you can see, right, a couple of bullish candlestick as it rebounds, that just shows that this support is quite strong. It's quite strong, right? And same thing over the past like a few days, we saw, okay, let's see, maybe not some bullish candlestick, but we started to see a bit of a rebound past 2 days, quite a bullish candle last night as well, right, as we push away from this new support level. So whenever you see some bullish or maybe even bearish candlestick near a support or resistance, just we want to give a bit more weight to that particular price level. All right, so let's see, maybe we can draw another support right over here, right over here. That would be maybe around the 148 to 150. Why? Because quite obviously we have rebounded from this support level. Look at this, right? So that was where we have stayed above, rebounded as well. So yeah, I would say these are kind of the key price levels whereby, you know, you want to have it. So that's where, you know, potential buying pressure can come back again, right? So I think right now, based on what I've drawn, right, after drawing what you want to do, right? So based on what I've drawn, right, of course, we're not going to take into consideration the trend, or there's a few things we look at in terms of like moving averages, in terms of the short-term trend, the long-term trend and all that. But let's just do away with that for now. Let's just keep it simple. We'll just be focusing on the horizontal support and resistance level. That's pretty much the main concept for this video. All right, and just by looking at this, right, you can see that potentially we may actually see a bit of a rebound if we were to stay above this new support level at about 170, right? So 170 would be a new resistance turn support. So we can stay above 170. So now it's 175, right? So as long as you stay above 170, that could be a good potential entry, right? It could be a good trade setup to ride it all the way back up to near that 190, and as I mentioned, 190 would be where some selling can come back again. And just by looking at this trade plan, right, it will be about a 10% right, gain just by entering near the support level and potentially riding the reversal all the way towards the sell zone, right, or where, you know, we have seen selling previously at about 190, right? So that's how support and resistance level can guide you. But of course, as I say, right, you want to combine support and resistance with a candlestick and with the trend as well, and that will give you more confirmation of a rebound, right, that can happen, and that will give you a higher probability of winning, right, in the stock market. So there we have it, guys. This video is about support and resistance level, and I hope that you have a better idea of how to actually draw this support and resistance level, and more importantly, after drawing them, right, how do you make use of them to time your entry and maybe even the exit to get out. I hope you have a better idea as well. So if you want to learn a bit more in terms of my entire strategy, I call it the one good trend strategy. You can attend one of those free webinars that we're still running, all right, maybe for next year. The link is right below the video. Check it out, click on it, or you can download my free trend trading report first so that you are on my email list, and whether there are any webinars coming out, free webinars coming out, that's where you will be notified as well. All right, so Joey here. Thank you so much for watching. You found some value, you like this video, go ahead to give me a like, smash the subscribe button, hit the bell notification so that you will be alerted whenever any new videos comes out. Joey here. I'll see you soon in the next video. Take care.